The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the ground as Emily and I approached the abandoned park. The heavy atmosphere pressed down on us like a thick blanket, wrapped in unease and the weight of countless stories left untold. I could feel my heart racing in my chest, each beat echoing the nervous energy swirling between us. Emily, with her adventurous spirit, marched forward, her eyes sparkling with excitement, while I lagged behind, hesitant and skeptical. "Come on, Jake, don't be such a chicken," she teased, glancing back at me with that infectious grin. "It's just an old park. What's the worst that could happen?" I swallowed hard, memories flooding my mind. Stories whispered at sleepovers and campfires about this very place. "You mean the worst, like the kids who went missing?" I shot back, trying to sound braver than I felt. Emily rolled her eyes but didn't miss a beat. "Those are just stories, Jake. You can't let some urban legend scare you. We're here to explore." I sighed, knowing deep down that she was right. The allure of adventure was hard to resist, even if my instincts screamed at me to turn around. "Okay, fine, but if we get chased by a ghost or something, I'm blaming you," I retorted, forcing a chuckle to mask my unease. As we stepped through the rusty gate, the park opened up before us, a graveyard of forgotten joys. The once vibrant playground now lay in decay, the swings creaking eerily in the breeze, and the merry-go-round stood still, coated in layers of rust. My stomach twisted as I took in the scene, the air heavy with memories of laughter that seemed to linger in the shadows. "This place is kind of creepy," I admitted, crossing my arms as a shiver ran down my spine. "Creepy is just another word for character," Emily exclaimed, her enthusiasm undeterred. "Look at that old slide. It must have seen a million kids." I watched as she darted towards the slide, her footsteps echoing against the cracked pavement. The fading light painted everything in shades of orange and purple, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were intruding on something sacred, something that didn't want to be disturbed. Suddenly, a distant sound caught my attention, a soft, high-pitched laugh that floated through the air like a wisp of smoke. I froze, my heart pounding. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, my voice barely above a murmur. Emily turned, her face bright with curiosity. "Hear what?" she asked, tilting her head as if straining to catch the sound. "That laugh," I insisted, glancing around nervously. "It sounded like a child." Her expression shifted, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her features. "You're just hearing things, Jake. This place is old and creaky. Let's check it out." She took off in the direction of the sound, and despite my better judgment, I followed her, my heart racing. "Emily, wait," I called, trying to keep pace with her. The laughter echoed again, louder this time, and I felt an icy grip of fear clutching at my gut. Maybe we should stick together? But Emily was already too far ahead, her adventurous spirit propelling her forward. "Just a minute. I want to see where it's coming from," she shouted back, her voice laced with excitement. As I reluctantly trailed behind her, the laughter faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. I glanced around, my mind racing with images of what might be lurking in the shadows. I didn't want to believe in ghosts or spirits, but the stories were hard to shake. The park felt alive in a way that was both thrilling and terrifying. We finally reached a corner of the park shrouded in darkness, the trees looming like silent sentinels. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end as I peered into the gloom. "Emily, are you sure we should be here?" I asked, my voice quivering slightly. She turned to me, her eyes lit with determination. "We're fine, Jake. It's probably just the wind playing tricks on us. Look," she pointed toward a large oak tree, its gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. "Let's check around there." Reluctantly, I followed her, each step feeling heavier than the last. As we approached the tree, the air shifted, carrying an almost tangible sense of anticipation. Emily knelt down, brushing away the fallen leaves that had gathered at its base. "See? Nothing to be afraid of," she said with a grin. I forced a smile, though my heart wasn't in it. Just then, a cold gust of wind swept through the park, sending a shiver racing down my spine. The laughter returned, clearer now, echoing around us. It was a child's laughter, playful and innocent, yet it sent chills coursing through me. "Emily?" I started, my voice barely above a whisper. "Did you hear that?" She froze, her expression shifting from excitement to apprehension. "Yeah, I heard it," she replied slowly, her eyes darting around as if searching for the source. "It's probably just a trick of the wind, right?" "Right," I said, though I didn't believe it. The laughter echoed again, and I could feel the panic rising within me. "We should go back. This isn't fun anymore." But before I could turn back, something caught my eye just beyond the tree. A flash of movement in the shadows. My breath hitched as I squinted into the darkness, trying to make sense of what I saw. "Emily, I think we should..." Suddenly, a figure darted past, a blur of motion that disappeared into the underbrush. My heart nearly stopped, and I stumbled backward, colliding with Emily. "What was that?" she exclaimed, her voice a mix of fear and curiosity. "I don't know. We need to leave," I urged, my instincts screaming at me to run. Emily looked torn, her adventurous spirit clashing with the palpable fear in the air. "But what if it's a kid? What if they need help? Or what if it's something we shouldn't mess with?" I shot back, my voice rising in panic. "Emily, please." She hesitated, her adventurous nature battling against the unease settling in her stomach. I could see the conflict in her eyes, and for a moment I thought she might agree with me. But then her curiosity won out. Just give me a second," she said, stepping forward again. "I want to see if they're okay." "Emily, don't," I pleaded, but it was too late. She was already stepping deeper into the shadows, her silhouette swallowed by the darkness. I stood frozen, torn between the urge to chase after her and the instinct to flee. The laughter rang out again, a haunting melody that echoed in my mind. "Emily!" I shouted, my voice cracking with fear. "Jake, come here!" she called back, her tone a blend of excitement and urgency. "You have to see this." I hesitated, my heart racing as I took a cautious step forward. "What did you find?" I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. It's amazing. You have to see," she urged, and against my better judgment, I forced myself to move closer, drawn by her enthusiasm despite the fear gnawing at me. As I approached, the shadows seemed to shift, and I felt a chill creep up my spine. "Emily, I don't like this," I whispered, glancing around nervously. "We should really go back. Just come look," she insisted again, her voice ringing with excitement. "You're going to love it." With a deep breath, I stepped into the darkness beside her. As my eyes adjusted, I could make out what she was pointing at. A small clearing, bathed in the fading light of the sunset. There, in the center, was an old, rusted merry-go-round, the once bright colors now dulled and chipped. "I can't believe it's still here," Emily breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "Look at it, Jake. It's like stepping back in time." I glanced around the clearing, the sense of unease only growing stronger. "Yeah, but it feels wrong, doesn't it?" I said, my voice low, "like it's been waiting for us." "Come on, it's just a playground," she said, brushing off my concerns. "Let's give it a spin." Before I could protest, she rushed forward, her laughter mingling with the wind as she climbed onto the rusty seat. "You're such a scaredy cat," she called, a challenge dancing in her eyes. Reluctantly, I followed, taking a seat beside her. As Emily began to push us, the merry-go-round creaked and groaned, the sound echoing in the stillness around us. With each turn, I could feel the air growing colder, the shadows lengthening as the sun dipped below the horizon. "This is kind of fun," Emily admitted, a smile lighting up her face as she pushed us faster. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that the park itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Suddenly, the laughter returned, louder and more insistent than before, ringing in my ears. My heart raced as I looked around frantically. "Emily, did you hear that?" I gasped, my pulse quickening. She stopped pushing, her smile fading as she looked at me. Confusion etched on as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows over the abandoned park. I could feel a mix of excitement and apprehension in the air. Jake and I stood at the entrance, our breaths mingling with the chill that accompanied the approaching twilight. The rusty gate creaked ominously as I pushed it open, and a shiver ran down my spine. "Are you sure about this, Em?" Jake asked, his voice laced with hesitation. I turned to him, my heart racing. "Come on, Jake. It's just an old park. Besides, think of the stories we could uncover," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. I knew the tales, whispers of children who had vanished while playing here, of laughter that echoed through the trees long after the last child had left. But my adventurous spirit urged me forward, and I took a step into the overgrown path. Jake lingered for a moment, his eyes scanning the darkening expanse before him. "I've heard things, Em. Weird things," he muttered, crossing his arms as if to shield himself from the chilling breeze. "What if we really shouldn't be here?" I shot him a playful smile, attempting to lighten the mood. "What's the worst that could happen? We find some old toys and a few creepy stories? Let's just explore a bit." With a deep breath, he finally followed me inside, though I could tell he wasn't entirely convinced. The park was a ghost of its former self, with faded swings hanging limply from rusted chains and slides that had turned into mere skeletons of their playful past. As we wandered deeper, the atmosphere thickened. It felt alive yet eerily silent, as if the very air was holding its breath. Then, a strange sound pierced the quiet, a distant giggle that floated through the trees, light and carefree, yet somehow chilling. I stopped in my tracks as the laughter echoed again, sending a chill racing down my spine. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, my eyes wide with a mix of fear and intrigue. Jake chuckled nervously, though I could see the concern etched on his face. "Probably just the wind or, I don't know, some animal?" He forced a laugh, attempting to mask his own unease. "It's an old park, after all." But I wasn't convinced. "No, it sounded like a kid. Come on, let's find out where it's coming from." Without waiting for his response, I started moving toward the sound, my heart pounding with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. "Emily, wait!" Jake called after me, his voice growing more anxious. I glanced back at him, and for a brief moment, I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes, but I was already too drawn in. The laughter continued to beckon me, pulling me deeper into the shadows. As I ventured further, the laughter faded, lost in the tangled underbrush, but the feeling of being watched intensified. I paused, glancing over my shoulder to find Jake still standing a few paces back, his brow furrowed with concern. "I don't think this is a good idea," he said, his voice low. "Just a little further," I urged, feeling a thrill rush through me. What if there's something amazing waiting for us? Or something dangerous? He shot back, his tone serious. I could see he was genuinely worried now, but my adventurous spirit won out. "Jake, don't be such a scaredy cat. I'm fine. I just want to see what's over there." With one last glance at him, I pressed on, moving toward a shadowed corner of the park. The trees loomed overhead like silent sentinels, and the air felt electric with anticipation. Suddenly, I stumbled upon a loose plank in the ground, and as I knelt to inspect it, I felt something hard beneath the dirt. My heart raced as I brushed away the debris to reveal a dusty old journal. "Jake, come here," I called excitedly, holding it up. He approached cautiously, still eyeing the surrounding trees as if expecting something to leap out at us. "What did you find?" he asked, peering over my shoulder. "It's a diary," I exclaimed, opening it carefully. The pages were yellowed and frayed, filled with childish drawings and scrawled words. "Look at this." I pointed to a sketch of a group of children playing in the park, their smiles vibrant against the faded paper. Jake leaned closer, his interest piqued despite his earlier reluctance. "What does it say?" As I flipped through the pages, I began to read snippets aloud. "This one talks about a secret hideout where they would meet to play, and this one mentions a game they used to play at dusk." I could feel the energy shifting around us, the park almost coming alive with the memories of the children who had once thrived here. Wait, what's this? I flipped to a page with a crudely drawn map, its edges frayed and torn. It says here that they had a secret place, somewhere hidden in the park. We have to find it. Are you sure that's a good idea? Jake asked, his voice tinged with doubt. What if it leads us to something, well, dangerous? Dangerous or not, we can't just leave this behind. This could be important, I insisted, fueled by the thrill of discovery. We're already here. Let's see what else we can find. Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair, but I could see the flicker of intrigue in his eyes. Okay, but if we do this, we stick together. No wandering off. Deal. I grinned, excitement bubbling within me. We set off, the diary clutched tightly in my hands as we searched for any sign of the secret hideout. With each step, the world around us felt more alive, a tapestry of laughter and forgotten memories weaving through the air. As we wandered deeper into the park, the light of the day began to fade, transforming the vibrant colors of the surroundings into muted shades of gray. The atmosphere grew increasingly sinister, shadows stretching and twisting in the gathering darkness. I glanced at Jake, who was now scanning the area with heightened wariness. Maybe we should turn back, he suggested, his voice barely above a whisper. It's getting dark, and I don't like how quiet it's become. But we're so close. Look at the map. It must be around here somewhere, I urged, feeling a sense of urgency. We can't give up now. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down on us. We continued to search, the journal guiding our way, until finally, we stumbled upon a mound of leaves, uneven and suspicious. This must be it, I exclaimed, kneeling down to clear the debris. As we uncovered a small entrance, my heart raced with anticipation. Are you ready for this? Jake hesitated, glancing around as if expecting someone, or something, to emerge from the shadows. I guess, but let's be careful, okay? Of course, I replied, trying to sound reassuring as I peered into the darkness of the hole. The air that wafted out was cool and damp, and I felt a tingle of excitement mixed with apprehension. Together, we cleared more of the leaves, revealing a dark passageway that seemed to lead into the earth. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. Here goes nothing. With that, I crawled into the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest as the cool earth enveloped me. Jake followed closely behind, his presence a comfort in the suffocating blackness. As we moved further in, I could feel the weight of the past surrounding us, the echoes of laughter and joy blending with an undercurrent of sorrow. What secrets lay hidden in this forgotten space? And what had happened to the children who had once called this park their playground? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the abandoned park, a chill ran down my spine. Jake and I stood at the rusted gates, the air thick with an unsettling stillness. I glanced at Jake, his face a mix of apprehension and intrigue. It felt like we were stepping into a different time, a place where laughter once echoed and memories thrived. Are you sure about this, Em? Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly might wake something that should remain asleep. Come on, Jake. This place is just begging to be explored, I replied, a thrill coursing through my veins. I had always been the adventurous one, the one who sought out the stories hidden in the shadows. What's the worst that could happen? He hesitated, glancing back towards the safety of the streetlights. You know the stories, right? About the kids who vanished. Yeah, but those are just urban legends. I waved his concerns away, though a part of me felt the weight of the past pressing down on us. Let's just check it out. We can leave if it gets too creepy. With a reluctant sigh, Jake followed me as we pushed open the creaky gate and stepped inside. The air felt heavier, charged with an energy that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. We walked deeper into the park, surrounded by overgrown grass and the remnants of what once was a merry-go-round, its paint peeling and faded, swings that hung silent, swaying slightly in an unseen breeze. Look at this, I said, pointing to a dilapidated slide that loomed like a giant, rusting sentinel. "It's like stepping into a time capsule." Jake forced a laugh, but it was strained. "Yeah, a time capsule from a horror movie." As we wandered further, I felt a shiver run through me as I heard a faint laugh in the distance. It was high-pitched and carefree, echoing in the stillness of the park. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my heart racing. Jake's expression shifted from nervousness to outright concern. "Probably just the wind, right?" He tried to sound casual, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. "No way, that was a kid's laugh." I felt a mix of excitement and dread. I looked in the direction of the sound, my curiosity piqued. "We should check it out." "Emily, I don't know," Jake protested, glancing around as if expecting something to leap out from the underbrush. "Let's just take a quick look," I insisted. "We can split up for a moment. I'll go find out what it is and you stay here. If I don't come back in 5 minutes, you can come find me." "Fine, but be careful," he relented, his voice tight with worry. I started walking toward the sound, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. As I ventured deeper into the park, the laughter grew louder, echoing against the trees. It was coming from a darkened corner, shrouded in shadows. The sun was fading fast, and with it, the warmth of the day began to retreat. Each step I took felt heavier, as if the ground beneath me was pulling me down. I brushed aside branches and ducked under low-hanging vines, my pulse quickening with each passing moment. "Hello," I called out, my voice sounding small against the vastness of the deserted playground. The laughter ceased abruptly, and an eerie silence enveloped me. I glanced back to see if Jake was following, but he was still at the entrance, his figure a shadow in the diminishing light. I felt a pang of guilt, knowing I had worried him. Suddenly, I spotted something in the underbrush, a glimmer of something shiny. Curiosity piqued. I approached, kneeling down to brush away the leaves. It was a diary, its leather cover cracked and worn. I could hardly believe my luck. I flipped it open, revealing pages filled with drawings. Children playing, names scrawled in colorful ink, and notes about their adventures. My heart raced as I read the words, a connection forming between me and the children who had once filled this park with life. "Jake, come look at this," I called, my voice tinged with excitement. He hurried over, his eyes wide with curiosity as he knelt beside me. "What did you find?" "A diary. It belonged to one of the kids who used to play here," I said, flipping through the pages. "Look," they drew a map of the park. "And check this out. There's a mention of a secret hideout where they used to play." Jake leaned closer, his initial nervousness giving way to intrigue. "A hideout? We have to find it." "Yes, let's see if we can figure out where it is," I said, feeling a spark of adventure reignite within me. As we studied the map, I felt a strange sense of familiarity wash over me. "This is all so nostalgic," I murmured, tracing my finger over the drawings. Jake nodded, his expression turning serious. "It's kind of sad, isn't it? To think these kids are missing, and their memories are just here." I could sense the weight of his words, and a chill settled in my stomach. "Do you think we should keep looking for the hideout? It might give us more clues about what happened." He looked up, uncertainty in his eyes. "I mean, it's getting dark. Maybe we should head back?" "No, we're so close," I protested, feeling an urgency to uncover the truth. This diary could hold the key to everything. Reluctantly, Jake relented, and we set off again, following the map's directions as dusk settled over the park. The trees began to loom larger, their branches twisting like skeletal fingers against the darkening sky. Finally, we arrived at a spot covered in thick foliage, and I felt a sense of anticipation building within me. "This has to be it," I whispered, brushing aside the leaves to reveal a small hole in the ground, partially obscured. "Are you sure?" Jake asked, eyeing the entrance warily. "Yes, the map says this is where they used to hide." I insisted, excitement bubbling within me. "Okay, but let's be quick. I don't like how dark it's getting," he replied, glancing nervously around as if expecting something to emerge from the shadows. Taking a deep breath, I climbed into the hole first, the earth cool against my skin as I landed inside the hidden space. Jake followed closely behind, his face a mix of apprehension and determination. Inside, we found remnants of a childhood long gone. Old toys scattered about, a makeshift mural on the wall where the kids had drawn their adventures. I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me, a bittersweet reminder of the innocence of youth. "Wow," Jake breathed, taking in the sight. "This is incredible." I stepped closer to the mural, tracing my fingers over the drawings. One of them caught my eye, a girl with brown hair, her smile bright and carefree. For a fleeting moment, I felt a connection, a vision of my grandmother playing here long ago. The realization hit me hard, and I staggered back, my heart racing. "Emily, you okay?" Jake asked, concern etched on his face. I think my grandmother played here when she was a kid," I stammered, shaking my head as if to clear the fog of memories swirling around me. "I need to talk to her. I need to know more about this place." Jake nodded, but I could see the worry in his eyes. "Let's just be careful, all right? This place feels off." I agreed, but the pull of curiosity was too strong. We gathered a few items from the hideout as mementos and made our way back to the entrance. Once outside, the park seemed to shift, the shadows darker and more oppressive than before. I felt a sense of urgency to return home, to confront my grandmother about what I had discovered. "Let's go," I urged, and we hurried back toward the park entrance, the weight of the past pressing down on us. In the car, I glanced at Jake, the flickering streetlights casting shadows across his face. "We need to visit my grandma," I said, determination flooding my voice. "She has to know something about this." "Are you sure she'll talk?" Jake asked, his brow furrowed. "I have to try," I replied, my mind racing with questions. "There's something about this park, something she's hiding." As we drove through the familiar streets, a sense of unease settled over me. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, as if the secrets of the past were lurking just beyond our sight. Arriving at my grandmother's house, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the confrontation ahead. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding in my chest. "Emily?" my grandmother's voice called, her face a mixture of surprise and concern as she opened the door. "What are you doing here?" "Grandma, I found something," I said, stepping inside. "I need to talk to you about the park." Her expression shifted, a flicker of fear crossing her features. "The park? You shouldn't be going there, dear." "Why not? What happened there?" I pressed, my curiosity outweighing my fear. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dilapidated playground of the abandoned park. I stood at the entrance, a mix of nervous excitement coursing through me. Beside me, Jake shifted uneasily, his eyes scanning the eerie surroundings. "Are you sure we should be here?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Come on, Jake. This place is legendary," I replied, trying to sound braver than I felt. "We can't let a few ghost stories scare us away. Besides, think of the adventure." He hesitated, biting his lip. "I've heard things about this park, Emily. Bad things. What if those stories are true?" I rolled my eyes, feeling a familiar surge of determination. "And what if they're not? We won't know unless we explore." With a deep breath, I took the first step inside, pushing the rusted gate open with a creak that echoed in the stillness. As we wandered deeper into the park, the atmosphere grew heavier, the air thick with memories of laughter and joy now long faded. We stumbled upon a set of rusty swings, their chains creaking softly in the breeze. One swing moved back and forth, seemingly on its own. I felt a chill run down my spine. "Did you see that?" I gasped, pointing. Jake chuckled nervously, attempting to lighten the mood. "Probably just the wind. Or, the ghosts of kids who got bored waiting for someone to play with them," he teased, though I could sense the unease in his voice. Just then, a distant laugh echoed through the trees. It was faint, almost dreamlike, but it sent a shiver down my spine. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, my heart racing with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Yeah, I heard it," Jake replied, glancing around as if expecting to see someone emerge from the shadows. "Maybe we should head back." "No way. I want to find out where that's coming from," I insisted, my adventurous spirit ignited. Before I could think twice, I took off in the direction of the sound, my footsteps crunching on the overgrown grass. "Emily, wait," Jake called after me, his voice laced with worry. But I was already moving, driven by an inexplicable urge to discover the source of the laughter. I followed the sound deeper into the park, the trees growing denser around me. The laughter grew louder, more inviting, yet it felt wrong, like a trap waiting to ensnare me. I paused, glancing back to see Jake lingering behind, his expression a mix of fear and caution. "This isn't funny anymore, Em," he shouted, his voice echoing in the thickening twilight. Ignoring his warnings, I pressed on, my curiosity outweighing my fear. It was as if the laughter called to me, pulling me closer. I turned a corner and found myself in a small clearing, the shadows stretching ominously around me. That's when I saw it, a tattered teddy bear lying among the weeds. I bent down to pick it up, feeling an odd sense of nostalgia wash over me. "Jake, look at this," I called, but when I turned around, he was nowhere in sight. Panic bubbled in my chest. "Jake," I shouted, my voice trembling. Just then, the laughter returned, clearer than before, and I felt an icy breeze sweep past me. A cold dread settled in my stomach. I needed to find Jake. "This isn't funny," I yelled, my voice laced with urgency. I turned back, retracing my steps, but the park seemed to twist and change around me. "Emily!" Jake's voice broke through the darkness, and I rushed toward it. I found him standing beside a rotting wooden structure that looked like it had once been a playhouse. His face was pale, and his eyes darted around, clearly unsettled. "I thought I lost you," I said, relief flooding through me. "I didn't like how quiet it got," he admitted, glancing over his shoulder. "What if something is watching us?" I shook my head, trying to suppress the rising fear. "It's just a park, Jake. There's nothing here but old swings and broken toys. Let's keep looking." Together, we ventured further, exploring the remnants of a once vibrant playground. As we walked, I noticed something glinting under a loose floorboard of the playhouse. "Look!" I exclaimed, kneeling down to pry it open. My heart raced as I pulled out an old, dusty diary. "What did you find?" Jake asked, peering over my shoulder. I opened the diary carefully, revealing pages filled with colorful drawings and scribbled notes. "These are kids' drawings and notes," I read aloud, my brow furrowing with intrigue. "It talks about a secret hideout where they all used to play. This could be it, Jake. We have to find it." Jake's expression shifted from anxiety to curiosity. "A secret hideout? That sounds kinda cool, actually." "Exactly, but we have to hurry. It's getting dark," I urged, feeling the weight of time pressing down on us. We scanned the diary for clues, and my pulse quickened when I read about the hidden corner of the park, where the children would gather to share secrets. "Let's go," I said, excitement bubbling within me. We retraced our steps, following the descriptions in the diary, but as the shadows lengthened, the air grew heavy with an unsettling energy. Finally, we stumbled upon a pile of leaves, and I knelt to uncover what lay beneath. "Jake, look!" I shouted, pulling away the leaves to reveal a small hole, just big enough for us to squeeze through. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Jake asked, his voice tinged with doubt. I nodded, my heart racing with adrenaline. "We have to see what's inside. It could be amazing." With a shared glance of determination, we crawled into the darkness of the hidden space. The air inside was stale, and I could barely make out the shapes around us. As I adjusted my eyes to the dim light, the sight took my breath away. Old toys were strewn around, dolls, toy cars, and even a dusty baseball glove. On one wall, colorful drawings adorned the surface, depicting children playing together, their smiles radiant. I felt an inexplicable connection to this place, but an unsettling feeling tugged at my mind. "What is this place?" Jake whispered, his voice barely breaking the silence. "It's their hideout, where they used to gather and play. Look at these drawings. They're so happy," I replied, my fingers brushing against the wall. But as I studied the images, I felt a sudden pang of sadness. What happened to them? Just then, a flicker of movement caught my eye, and I turned sharply. In the corner of the hideout, shadows danced, and I squinted into the darkness. "Jake, did you see that?" "I don't like this," he said, taking a step back. "Maybe we should go." But before I could respond, the atmosphere shifted. I felt a chill creep up my spine, and the air grew thick with unease. "No, wait," I urged, my voice trembling. "I need to know what happened here." Then, in the depths of the shadows, I saw a flicker of light, an ethereal glow that pulsed softly. It beckoned me forward, and despite every warning bell ringing in my mind, I felt drawn to it. "Jake, come on," I said, pushing through the fear. As we approached, the light intensified, illuminating a small figure standing in the darkness. "A child," I gasped, feeling my heart race. The child's face was blurred, but I could see that they were smiling, their eyes bright with innocence. "Help us?" the child whispered, their voice echoing around us like a haunting melody. "What do you mean?" I breathed, the weight of their plea sinking into my chest. But before I could ask anything more, a cold breeze swept through the hideout, extinguishing the light and plunging us into darkness. I felt Jake's hand grasp mine tightly, and I could hear his shallow breathing. "Emily, we need to get out of here," he urged, panic lacing his voice. "Jake, wait," I cried, trying to steady my racing heart. "We can't leave. We need to understand what's happening here." Suddenly, the air turned electric, and a chilling laughter filled the space, echoing around us like a twisted lullaby. It was the same laugh I had heard earlier, now clearer and more menacing. "We have to go now," Jake shouted, pulling me back toward the entrance. As we scrambled out of the hideout, I could feel an unseen force pushing against us, urging us to leave. The park felt alive, a malevolent presence lurking just beyond our sight. We burst into the open air, gasping for breath. The twilight had deepened into night, and the shadows loomed larger than ever. I turned to Jake, my heart pounding in my chest. "Did you see that?" "I don't want to talk about it," he said, his voice shaking. "Let's just go home." But I couldn't shake the feeling that we had only scratched the surface of something much darker. "No, Jake, we need to find out what's going on here. Those kids, they need our help." With uncertainty hanging heavily in the air, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over the decaying remnants of the once vibrant playground, I felt a mix of excitement and unease. Jake and I stood at the entrance of the abandoned park, the air thick with an unsettling stillness. I turned to him, my heart racing with the thrill of adventure, but his expression told a different story, one of hesitation and fear. "Come on, Jake, it's just an old park," I urged, trying to mask my own nervousness. "What's the worst that could happen?" He shifted his weight, glancing back toward the path we had just walked. "You've heard the stories, right? About the kids who went missing?" he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "This place gives me the creeps. Those are just urban legends," I argued, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "Let's just take a quick look. We can handle it, I promise." After a moment of silent contemplation, he sighed and nodded reluctantly. "All right, but if I start feeling weird, I'm out of here." We stepped inside, the cool breeze brushing against our skin as the last rays of sunlight faded into darkness. The park was a ghost of its former self, with rusted swings hanging limply, their chains creaking as they swayed in the wind. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I pushed it aside, focusing instead on the thrill of exploration. As we wandered deeper, I spotted a swing that seemed to move on its own, as if beckoning us closer. "Look at that," I exclaimed, pointing towards it. "It's like it's alive." Jake chuckled nervously, but I could see the apprehension in his eyes. Suddenly, a distant giggle floated through the air, sending a shiver through me. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my heart racing. "Yeah, I did," he replied, frowning. "I don't like this, Em. Maybe we should head back." "No way. We have to see where it's coming from." I insisted, my curiosity piqued. "It could be just the wind or something. Let's check it out." Without waiting for his response, I started walking towards the source of the sound, the giggle growing louder with each step. "Emily, wait!" Jake called after me, his voice tinged with concern. I could feel his hesitation pulling at me, but I was too drawn in by the sound, too eager to uncover whatever mystery lay ahead. As I ventured further into the park, the laughter echoed around me, wrapping me in a strange sense of both dread and excitement. I turned a corner, and the trees parted to reveal a darkened corner of the park, shrouded in shadows. The laughter stopped abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence, and I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I felt a pang of guilt for leaving Jake behind, but curiosity propelled me forward. "Jake, are you coming?" I called out, my voice barely breaking the stillness. I heard him shuffling behind me, his footsteps hesitant. "This isn't a good idea, Em. We should stick together," he urged, his tone more serious now. But before I could respond, I stumbled upon something that made my heart skip a beat. A dusty, battered diary half hidden beneath a loose floorboard. My hands trembled as I pried it free, the pages crinkling under my touch. I flipped it open, revealing sketches of children playing, scrawled notes filled with innocent secrets and laughter. "Emily, what did you find?" Jake's voice came closer, his curiosity overtaking his fear. "A diary. It's full of drawings and stories about the kids who used to play here," I exclaimed, my excitement bubbling over. "Look at this. They mention a secret hideout where they used to gather." Jake leaned in, his eyes widening as he read over my shoulder. "A hidden place? That sounds intriguing. We should go find it." We glanced around, the atmosphere thickening as the daylight slipped away. Shadows stretched across the ground, and I could feel the weight of the stories that lingered in the air. "Let's hurry before it gets too dark," I urged, clutching the diary tightly as we set off in search of the mentioned hideout. As we searched the park, the sun finally disappeared, and a shroud of darkness enveloped us. The rustling leaves and creaking swings created a haunting symphony, each sound echoing our mounting anxiety. Just as I began to feel the weight of fear creeping in, we stumbled upon a mound of leaves, partially covering a hole in the ground. "There!" I pointed, my voice a mix of excitement and fear. "This must be it." We exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between us. Without a word, we knelt down and began to clear away the leaves, revealing an entrance that led into the unknown. My heart raced as I peered inside, the darkness beckoning. "Are you ready?" I asked, my voice tinged with both apprehension and thrill. Jake hesitated for a moment, his brow furrowing as he looked down at the hole. "Yeah, I guess so," he replied, taking a deep breath. "But let's be careful, okay?" We climbed inside, the air growing cooler as we descended. The narrow space opened up into a small chamber, and I felt an odd sense of nostalgia wash over me. Old toys lay scattered around, faded dolls, cracked action figures, and a mural painted on the wall, depicting scenes of joy and laughter from a time long gone. "Wow!" I breathed, taking it all in. "This is where they used to play." Suddenly, a vision flashed in my mind, a memory that wasn't mine but felt achingly familiar. I saw my grandmother, young and vibrant, laughing with friends, playing games under the sun. The realization hit me hard. This was the park she had told me about, the one where she spent her childhood. "Are you okay?" Jake's voice brought me back to the present, concern etched on his face. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I just had a vision," I stammered. "My grandma used to play here. I need to talk to her about this place." Jake nodded, though I could sense his worry. "Let's get out of here and figure this out. If your grandmother has any answers, we need to find them." As we emerged from the hideout, The weight of the past hung heavily in the air. I felt determined to uncover the truth, but a nagging feeling of dread settled in my stomach. What if my grandmother knew more than she had shared? The next day, I stood outside my grandmother's house, my heart pounding in my chest. I had rehearsed what I wanted to say 100 times, but as I knocked on the door, my resolve wavered. When she opened it, the warmth of her smile faltered as she saw the concern etched on my face. "Emily, dear, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice soothing yet laced with apprehension. "Grandma, can we talk?" I urged, stepping inside. "I found something in the park. I need to know about your childhood there, about the kids who disappeared." Her face paled, and I saw the flicker of memories behind her eyes. "Oh, sweetie, you shouldn't be asking about that. It's best to leave the past buried." "Why? What happened?" I pressed, desperation creeping into my voice. "You can't just ignore it. I found a diary. There were kids who played there, and they—" "Enough!" she interrupted, her voice rising. "Some things are better left untouched, Emily. There was an agreement made long ago to protect this town." "Protect it from what?" I demanded, my frustration boiling over. "I won't let this go. I need to know the truth." Her eyes softened, but the tension in the room was palpable. "You don't understand, dear. Some truths carry a weight that can crush you. Just promise me you'll stay away from that park." I felt a mix of anger and confusion. "I can't just walk away, Grandma. Not after everything I've seen. Not after what I've learned." As I left her house, my mind raced. The weight of her words lingered, but I couldn't ignore the pull of the park. I needed to uncover the secrets that lay buried in its depths, and I couldn't do it alone. I turned to Jake, hoping he would understand. When I met him later, I recounted my conversation with my grandmother, the frustration boiling inside me. "She's hiding something, Jake. I can feel it. We need to go back to the park tonight." Jake's brows furrowed with concern. "Emily, do you really think that's a good idea? After everything we've seen? I have to know the truth. We can't let fear control us," I replied, determination fueling my resolve. He sighed, looking conflicted. "All right, if you're sure about this, but we have to be careful. I don't want to end up like those kids. Together, we'll face whatever's out there," I promised, feeling the bond of our friendship strengthen in that moment. We were in this together, no matter the cost. As night fell and the shadows crept back into the park, I felt a thrill of fear and excitement coursing through me. We would confront the past, no matter what it revealed. The sun was beginning to set as Jake and I walked through the familiar streets of our small town, but my mind was racing with everything we had discovered at the abandoned park. The air felt thick with unspoken words, and the shadows of the trees loomed over us, almost as if they were listening in on our conversation. I could feel the weight of the secrets buried deep in the park, and now, with the diary in hand, it felt like those secrets were clawing to be uncovered. "Emily, are you sure about this?" Jake asked, his voice low and filled with concern. He glanced sideways at me, his brow furrowed. "I mean, your grandma didn't want you to go back to that place. What if something happens? What if those stories are true?" I could understand his hesitation. The tales of children disappearing in that park had been told and retold in hushed whispers among the townsfolk for years. But the thought of uncovering the truth, of piecing together the fragments of the past, excited me. "I have to know, Jake. There's something bigger at play here. I can feel it in my bones," I replied, trying to project confidence even as a shiver ran down my spine. "Yeah, but what if you don't like what you find?" he pressed, stopping to look at me. "What if it's darker than we imagined?" I sighed, feeling the weight of my own uncertainty pressing down on me. "I know it's scary, but if we don't confront it, we'll never be free of it. I can't just ignore what's in that diary. Those children deserve to be remembered, and we owe it to them to find out what happened." Jake ran a hand through his hair, letting out a frustrated breath. "Okay, but if we do this, we need to be careful. I don't want to lose you to whatever's haunting that place. You mean too much to me." His words warmed my heart even as they filled me with apprehension. "You won't lose me. We'll face it together," I assured him, offering a small smile. Let's go back to my grandma's house. I need to talk to her again. There has to be more she's not telling us. As we walked toward my grandmother's quaint home, the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting an orange glow across the horizon. The familiar warmth of my grandmother's house was comforting, but I could feel the tension in the air as we entered. She was sitting in her favorite armchair, knitting needles clicking together in a rhythm that felt both soothing and unsettling. "Emily, you're back," she said, looking up with a forced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I was worried about you. You shouldn't have gone back to that park. It's not safe." "Grandma, I need to talk to you," I said, my voice steady despite the flutter of anxiety in my stomach. "About the park, about the children. I found something." I pulled the diary from my bag, the pages worn and yellowed with age. This belonged to one of the kids who disappeared. Her expression shifted instantly, the color draining from her face. "Emily, put that away. You don't understand what you're getting into," she warned, her voice laced with urgency. "But Grandma, we need to know what happened. The diary talks about a secret hideout, a place where the kids used to play. There's something important here." I pressed, my heart pounding as I tried to gauge her reaction. She shook her head, a look of deep sorrow crossing her features. "Some things are better left buried, sweetheart. The past can be a dangerous thing to unearth." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "But if we don't confront it, those children will never find peace. We have to help them, Grandma. Please, just tell me what you know." "Emily," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "there was an agreement made a long time ago, something that was supposed to protect the town, but it came at a terrible cost. The children," she paused, closing her eyes as if bracing herself against a painful memory. "They were part of that cost." "What do you mean?" I pressed, leaning in closer. "What kind of agreement?" She opened her eyes, a storm of emotions swirling within them. "Long ago, the town faced a darkness, something that threatened our very existence. To protect ourselves, some of us made a pact, a ritual that involved the children. We thought we were saving them, but it didn't work out the way we hoped." I felt a chill creep up my spine. "What did you do to them?" I whispered, the gravity of her words pressing down on me. "We believed we could bind the darkness, but it required a sacrifice," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "The children were the price we paid. They were trapped, their spirits tied to the park, and we thought it would keep them safe. But we were wrong." Tears welled in my eyes as I processed her confession. "You let them suffer for the town's sake?" I could hardly believe what I was hearing. "That's why they disappeared? Because of some twisted deal? It was never meant to be a punishment," she cried, anguish etched across her face. "We were desperate. I thought I was doing the right thing for the safety of everyone. I didn't want to lose my family, my home. I had no idea it would lead to this." Jake and I exchanged glances, the implications of her words sinking in. "So the ritual, it trapped them there in that park?" Jake asked, his voice steady but filled with disbelief. "Yes," she said, her gaze dropping to the floor. "And now, after all these years, their spirits are restless because they never received the closure they deserved." I felt a surge of determination. "Then we have to help them. We have to find a way to set them free. If we can reverse what was done, maybe we can finally put an end to this nightmare." My grandmother looked up, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. "It won't be easy, Emily. The darkness that was contained is still very much alive. It will fight back. You have to be careful." "I don't care," I replied, my voice firm. "I can't just sit back and let them suffer any longer. They deserve peace, and I won't turn my back on them." Jake nodded, his expression resolute. "We'll do this together, Emily. You're not alone in this." My grandmother's gaze softened as she studied us. "If you're determined to go through with this, you'll need to gather the items mentioned in the diary. They might help you in the ritual." With a sense of purpose, I opened the diary and began to read through the entries again, my fingers tracing over the faded ink. It talks about a hidden place in the park where they used to play. If we can find it, we might discover more about the ritual. Just promise me you'll be careful, my grandmother said, her voice trembling slightly. I don't want to lose you both to the darkness that lingers there. We will, I promised, feeling a surge of resolve. We'll uncover the truth, and we'll set them free. As we left my grandmother's house, the weight of her words lingered in the air, but I could feel the fire of determination igniting within me. The shadows of the past loomed large, but I was ready to confront them. Together, Jake and I would face whatever lay ahead, unearthing the secrets that had haunted our town for far too long. Are you ready for this? Jake asked as we stood at the edge of the park, the entrance looming before us like a gateway to another world. I took a deep breath, the cool evening air filling my lungs. More than ever, I replied, stepping forward into the darkness. For them. The night air was thick with tension as Jake and I approached the park once more. The moonlight barely pierced through the dense canopy of trees, casting long shadows that danced eerily on the ground. My heart raced as I clutched the diary tightly in my hands, the pages filled with the innocent drawings and desperate notes of the children who had played here long before us. I could feel their presence lingering in the air, a whisper of their lost joy. Are you sure about this, Em? Jake asked, his voice trembling slightly. He was always the cautious one, and I admired that about him, but tonight I needed him to be brave. I have to know, Jake. We have to help them, I replied, determination flooding my voice. We owe it to them. We stepped into the park, the familiar sights of rusted swings and broken merry-go-rounds looming before us like ghosts of a forgotten past. The atmosphere felt different this time, charged, as if the very ground beneath our feet was alive with the memories of those children. I could hear the distant echoes of laughter, but this time it felt more urgent, as if they were calling for us. As we made our way deeper into the park, I glanced at Jake. His face was pale, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. What if we find something we're not ready for? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. We can't turn back now, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. I remembered the conversation with my grandmother, the way her eyes had clouded over when I mentioned the park. She had been hiding something, and I was determined to uncover that truth, even if it meant facing the unknown. We reached the spot where we had found the hidden hideout, a small clearing overgrown with weeds and brambles. I knelt down to brush away the leaves and dirt, revealing the entrance to the children's secret world. This is it, I said, my heart pounding in my chest. This is where they hid. Jake hesitated, glancing around nervously. What if we disturb something? What if it's dangerous? Then we'll face it together, I said, my resolve strengthening. We can't let fear control us. We owe it to them to find out what happened. With a deep breath, I took the lead and crawled into the hideout. The air inside was stale, filled with the scent of earth and decay. As I fumbled for my flashlight, I felt a chill run down my spine. Jake, come on, I called out, trying to mask my fear. He followed reluctantly, his flashlight beam shaking as he scanned the cramped space. This place feels wrong, he muttered, like something's watching us. I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. But we're not here to run away. We're here to find answers. In the dim light, I spotted the mural made by the children, vibrant colors faded but still visible. Look at this, I said, pointing to the drawings. They were happy here. Jake stepped closer, his expression softening as he studied the artwork. They were just kids, he said quietly. They didn't deserve to vanish. I could feel the sadness wrapping around us like a thick fog, intertwining with the memories that lingered in the air. We have to do something, Jake. We can't let their stories end here. As I flipped through the diary, I found a passage that mentioned a reverse ritual. This could be it, I exclaimed, my heart racing. This is what we need to do to help them move on. Jake leaned over my shoulder, his brow furrowed in concentration. But how do we even perform it? We don't know what it entails. Maybe there are more clues in the diary, I suggested. We just have to keep looking. We searched through the pages, And as we did, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew colder, and I could sense a presence surrounding us. Emily, Jake's voice trembled. Do you feel that? Yes, I whispered, my heart pounding in my chest. It's like, they're here. They want us to help them. Suddenly, a loud creak echoed through the hideout, and I jumped. Did you hear that? Jake asked, his voice rising in pitch. Yeah, I did, I replied, trying to stay calm. We need to focus. We can't let fear get the better of us. Just then, the sound of laughter echoed through the hideout, but it was different this time. It was louder, more desperate. I instinctively reached for Jake's hand. We have to go back out, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Are you sure? He asked, uncertainty flooding his eyes. Yes, I said firmly. We need to face whatever it is. We crawled back out into the night, the cool air hitting our faces like a wave. The park was bathed in moonlight, but the shadows seemed deeper, more ominous. What do we do now? Jake asked, scanning the area. I looked around, my heart racing. We need to gather the items mentioned in the diary. It said something about personal belongings of the children. Maybe that will help us connect with their spirits. Where do we even start? Jake replied, his voice shaky. There were toys, I remembered. Things they used to play with. We need to look for them. We wandered through the park, our flashlights cutting through the darkness. The laughter echoed again, but this time it was accompanied by a soft sobbing sound. My heart clenched. They're scared, I said softly. They need us. Let's hurry, Jake urged, his voice urgent. We stumbled upon an old sandbox, overgrown with weeds, and I knelt down, digging through the dirt. There has to be something here, I murmured, my fingers brushing against something hard. I pulled out a small, rusted toy truck. Look, Jake. He knelt beside me, his eyes wide. That's it. That's one of theirs. We continued searching, finding an old doll with one eye missing, and a battered ball that had clearly seen better days. Each discovery felt like a piece of the puzzle falling into place. With every item we collected, the atmosphere became more electric, charged with an energy I couldn't quite explain. Do you think we have enough? Jake asked, glancing nervously around us. I hope so, I said, clutching the items tightly. We need to get back to the hideout and perform the ritual. As we made our way back, the laughter grew louder, echoing off the trees like a haunting melody. I felt a shiver run down my spine, but I pressed on, determined to bring peace to the restless spirits. Finally, we reached the hideout once more. The air felt thicker, almost suffocating. This is it, I said, my voice shaking. We need to set everything up and follow the instructions in the diary. Jake nodded, his expression serious. Let's do this. We arranged the items in a circle, reciting the words from the diary as I tried to recall them from memory. We're here for you, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. We want to help you find peace. As I spoke, the air around us shifted again, growing colder. Emily? Jake whispered, his eyes wide with fear. I think they're here. I could feel it too. A presence watching us, surrounding us. We can do this, Jake. We just have to stay focused, I urged, gripping his hand tightly. Suddenly, the laughter morphed into cries, sharp and piercing, echoing through the night. No, this isn't how it's supposed to be, I shouted, trying to drown out the noise. We're here to help. We want to set you free. But the darkness pressed in, swirling around us, and I could feel the weight of the spirits closing in. Emily, I can't breathe, Jake gasped, his grip on my hand tightening. Just hold on, I shouted, desperation flooding my voice. We need to finish the ritual. I focused on the words from the diary, trying to channel my energy into the items we had gathered. Spirits of the lost, we honor you, I called, my voice rising against the chaos. We seek to release you from this place. The cries grew louder, and I felt the air crackle with energy. No, this isn't right, I shouted, my voice barely audible over the cacophony. We are not afraid. In that moment, I felt a surge of power, the connection with the spirits pulsing through me. "You are not alone," I cried, channeling my energy into the items before us. "We acknowledge your pain, and we want to help you find peace." The wind howled around us, and I could feel the darkness pressing in, but I held my ground. "We are here for you," I shouted again, pouring every ounce of my being into those words. The air thickened, and for a moment, everything stopped. The laughter faded to a whisper, and the cries grew softer, almost pleading. "Help us?" A faint voice echoed, almost lost in the wind. "Yes," I shouted, desperation fueling my resolve. "We will help you. Just hold on." As I spoke, I felt a warmth enveloping us. The night air was thick with tension as Jake and I stepped back into the park, the place that had become a haunting echo of our fears and discoveries. The stories we had unearthed were like a heavy shroud draped over us, and the darkness felt almost alive, wrapping around us as we ventured deeper into the silence. The trees loomed overhead, twisted and gnarled, their branches reaching out like skeletal arms, and the moonlight filtered through in ghostly beams, illuminating patches of the ground. "Are you sure about this?" Jake's voice trembled slightly, and I could see the uncertainty etched on his face. "We have to do this, Jake. We know what we have to confront," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The memory of the spectral child's plea echoed in my mind, urging me forward. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I had come to recognize. I don't know if I'm ready for whatever we might find. What if we're wrong? What if we're just making it worse?" I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions swirling within me. "We're not wrong. We've come this far and we can't turn back now. If there's a way to help those kids, to finally set them free, we have to try." Jake nodded slowly, but I could see doubt still flickering in his eyes. We walked together towards the clearing where we'd felt the spirit's presence before. The air grew colder, and an ominous wind whispered through the trees, sending chills down my spine. I could almost hear the laughter of children echoing in the distance, a haunting reminder of the innocence lost within these grounds. "Do you think they're still here? The spirits?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper as we approached the center of the park. "I think they're waiting for us to listen," I replied, my heart racing with each step we took. The fear was palpable, but so was my determination. I could feel the weight of the diary in my pocket, the sketches and notes from those children guiding me like a beacon. As we reached the old carousel, its paint peeling and metal rusting, I felt a strange pull. "This is where we need to start," I said. The moonlight illuminated the dusty horses, their once vibrant colors now dulled by time. "We need to connect with them, to let them know we want to help." Jake looked around, his brow furrowed. "And how do we do that? Just call out to them?" I nodded, feeling the energy in the air shift. "Yes, we need to show them that we understand, that we're here for them." I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath, trying to center myself. "Spirits of this park, we come in peace. We know what happened to you, and we want to help you find peace." My voice rang out into the night, firm yet gentle. First, nothing happened. The wind stilled, and the silence grew heavier around us. I opened my eyes, glancing at Jake, who looked equally tense. "Did you feel that?" he asked suddenly, his eyes wide. "Feel what?" I replied, my heart pounding. "It's like something's building. I can't explain it." Before I could respond, a gust of wind whipped through the clearing, and the laughter we'd heard before filled the air, clearer this time. A chorus of innocent giggles echoing through the darkness. I shivered, but there was a sense of hope in that sound, a reminder that we weren't alone. "Can you hear them?" I asked, my voice almost breaking with emotion. "Yes, they're here." Jake's eyes were bright with a mix of fear and wonder. I took a step forward, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. "We want to help you. Please, show us what we need to do." The laughter turned into whispers, swirling around us like a breeze, and suddenly, the energy in the air shifted again. The shadows around us deepened, and from the darkness emerged a figure. A child, translucent and glowing softly, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. "Help us," the child said, their voice echoing like a distant chime in the night. Jake's breath hitched beside me, but I felt a strange calm wash over me. "We're here to help. We know you're trapped. We want to set you free," I said, trying to reach out to the spirit. The child looked at me, their face a mixture of sadness and longing. "You have to face the truth. Only then can we be free." "What truth?" Jake asked, stepping closer. The figure pointed towards the darkened trees, where the shadows seemed to writhe and pulse. "The darkness, it holds the answers. You must confront it." I swallowed hard, glancing at Jake. "We have to go there, don't we? We have to face whatever is hiding in the shadows." "Emily, that sounds dangerous," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "I know, but we can't turn away now. Not after everything we've learned. We owe it to them." The child's gaze remained steady, urging us forward. "Do not be afraid. You are stronger than you know." With a deep breath, I took a step towards the darkness. "Jake, stay close. We can do this together." He nodded, his expression resolute, and we moved toward the trees, feeling the weight of the air shift around us. As we approached the edge of the shadows, the temperature dropped dramatically, and I could feel a malevolent presence lurking just beyond our sight. Suddenly, a wave of energy surged through the air, and the figure of the child flickered, their form wavering like a candle in the wind. "You must confront the fear." Before I could react, a dark figure emerged from the shadows, twisting and contorting into a monstrous shape, its eyes glowing like embers. My heart raced as I instinctively took a step back, but Jake grabbed my arm, grounding me. "We can't back down," he whispered fiercely, his grip reassuring. "We have to face it together." The figure loomed closer, its voice a low growl. "You think you can change what has been done? You cannot escape the past." "Maybe not," I shouted, my voice rising above the darkness. "But we can face it. We're not afraid of you." The entity recoiled, and I could feel the energy shift around us. "Fear is your greatest weakness," it roared, but I could sense the crack in its confidence. "Fear may be a weakness," I replied, my voice steady, "but love and courage are stronger. We're here for the children. We're here to set them free." Jake stepped forward beside me, his voice rising in defiance. "You don't control us. We know the truth now." For a moment, the darkness hesitated, and I could see the flicker of panic in its glowing eyes. "You cannot change the past," it snarled, but the shadows around it began to waver, as if the truth we had uncovered was unraveling its hold. "Maybe not," I said, "but we can change the future. You're not as powerful as you think." As I spoke, I felt a surge of energy flowing through me, igniting a spark of hope. The child's spirit appeared beside us, its form solidifying as it reached out towards the darkness. "You must face the truth." The entity let out a shriek, recoiling from the light. "No, you will not take them from me. We're not afraid of you," I shouted, my voice echoing in the night. "We stand for the children, and we will uncover the truth." With that declaration, I felt the weight of their loss pressing down on me. The sorrow of the children who had disappeared, the pain of their families. "You can't keep them trapped in your darkness. They deserve to be free." A blinding light erupted from the spirit beside us, illuminating the shadows and pushing back the darkness. The entity writhed and shrieked, its form beginning to dissolve as the truth we had uncovered enveloped it. "Face the truth," I cried out again, feeling the power of the moment swell around us. With one final scream, the darkness shattered, revealing the beauty of the night sky above us, the stars twinkling like diamonds. The energy in the air shifted, and I could feel the presence of the children around us, their laughter mingling with the wind. As the shadows receded, the child's spirit smiled at us, their form glowing with a warmth that filled my heart. "Thank you," they whispered, their voice now a gentle breeze. I felt tears welling in my eyes, a mixture of relief and joy. "You're free now," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. Jake squeezed my hand, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "We did it, Emily." "Yes, we did," I replied, looking around at the park. The darkness had lifted, and the atmosphere was filled with a sense of peace. Together we stood, witnessing the liberation of the spirits we had fought so hard for, knowing that the truth we had uncovered would forever change not just the park, but the lives of those who had been touched by its tragic past. As moonlight streamed through the trees, I stood there, heart racing in my chest. The atmosphere of the park had shifted dramatically. What was once a realm of shadows and fear now felt lighter, almost ethereal. I could hardly believe what had just transpired. The confrontation with the malevolent entity had drained us both, but the liberation of the children's spirits filled me with an inexplicable warmth. Emily and I shared a glance, a mix of disbelief and relief washing over us. "Do you see that?" I whispered, pointing toward the center of the park where the spirits began to coalesce, shimmering like tiny stars against the backdrop of the night. "It's beautiful," Emily breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "They're free." A soft breeze danced around us, carrying with it the echoes of laughter that once haunted this place. I could feel the lingering presence of the spirits, their joy palpable as they floated around, their forms gradually becoming more defined, more vibrant. It was as if they were shedding the darkness that had clung to them for so long. "Thank you." A voice rang out, gentle yet powerful, drawing my attention. A small figure emerged from the group of spirits, a girl with bright, shining eyes and a smile that lit up the gloom. "Thank you for setting us free." Who are you?" I stammered, unable to take my eyes off her. She looked so familiar, yet I couldn't place her. "I'm Lily," she said, her voice like a soft chime. "I played here long ago before everything changed." Emily stepped closer, a look of recognition washing over her face. "Lily? You were one of the children who disappeared." "Yes." The spirit nodded, her expression turning somber. "We were trapped here, lost in the shadows. But you broke the curse. You faced the darkness for us." I exchanged a glance with Emily, who nodded solemnly. It wasn't just us. We had to confront so many fears, learn the truth. It was terrifying. Lily smiled again, the darkness that had once clouded her eyes now replaced with a shimmering light. "You showed us that courage exists, even in the darkest times. Because of that, we can finally move on. Can you tell us what happened?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "How did you end up here?" Lily looked down, her gaze lingering on the ground. "We were playing, hiding from each other in our secret places. We thought it was all just a game. But then, there was a storm. It was dark and we got lost. We called for help, but no one could hear us. We were afraid." Emily stepped forward, her voice soft. "But we found your diary. It had drawings and stories about your adventures. It helped us understand what happened." "Yes," Lily said, a hint of sadness in her voice. "We wanted to be remembered, even after we were gone. But the park became a place of fear, and our memories faded into whispers." As she spoke, I felt a pang of sorrow. The lives of these children had been snuffed out, their laughter replaced with silence and dread. But now, they were here, free from the chains that had bound them for so long. "Is there anything we can do for you now?" Emily asked, her voice filled with sincerity. "You've been through so much." Lily's features softened, and for a moment, she looked like a little girl again, innocent and full of life. "Just remember us. Tell our story. Let the world know we were here, that we played, and that we loved." I nodded, determination swelling within me. "We will. We promise. We'll make sure your story is never forgotten." "Thank you," Lily whispered, her voice almost a sigh. "And remember, you have the power to change the world around you. Don't let fear stop you." As she spoke those words, the other spirits began to gather around her, each one glowing with a soft luminescence. They all looked at Emily and me, their expressions filled with gratitude. "Thank you for believing in us," one of the boys said, his voice strong yet gentle. "You've given us hope. Hope is what kept us going." I replied, my own voice trembling with emotion. We just wanted to help you find peace. With that, the spirits began to fade, their forms dissolving into a cascade of glittering lights. They floated upward, merging with the stars above, leaving a trail of shimmering dust in their wake. I watched, mesmerized, as they ascended into the night sky, their laughter echoing in the stillness. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again. The oppressive weight that had hung over the park for so long seemed to lift, replaced by a sense of calm and serenity. It was as if the very essence of the place had transformed, the shadows retreating into the corners where they belonged, no longer allowed to haunt this sanctuary of childhood memories. Did that really just happen? Emily asked, her voice a whisper, filled with awe. I think it did, I replied, feeling a smile break across my face. We helped them. They're free now. Tears filled Emily's eyes, but they were tears of joy. We did it, Jake. We really did it. Yes, we did, I said, my heart swelling with pride. But it's not just us. It's everyone who believed in those kids, who wanted to see the truth come to light. We owe it to them to make their story known. As we stood there, the park transformed into a new version of itself. The once rusted playground now gleamed under the gentle moonlight. The swings swayed softly in the breeze, as if welcoming children back to play. The air was filled with a sense of renewal, of hope. Let's come back tomorrow, I suggested. We can start planning how to tell their story, how to honor them. Emily nodded, her eyes alight with determination. Yes, we'll organize something for the town, a way to remember them, to celebrate their lives. We can't let this place turn into a nightmare again. Exactly, I agreed. And we'll talk to your grandmother too. She needs to understand that hiding the past won't help anyone. As we walked toward the park entrance, hand in hand, I felt a sense of purpose blooming within me. We had faced our fears, confronted the darkness, and emerged victorious. But more than that, we had forged a bond that would withstand anything. Jake, Emily said as we paused at the edge of the park, her eyes shining with determination. No matter what happens next, I'm glad I did this with you. You've been so brave. I smiled back at her, the memories of our journey flooding my mind. The fear, the laughter, the revelations. I couldn't have done it without you, Emily. You were my anchor in this storm. Together, we stepped out of the shadows of the past and into the light of a new beginning. As we walked away from the park, I knew that the story of the children would be told, that their laughter would echo in the hearts of many once more. And as we made our way back home, I felt a sense of peace for the first time in a long while. The weight of the world still loomed, but now it felt lighter. We had made a difference. We had given the forgotten children their voices back. And so, with the moon shining brightly above, I looked forward to tomorrow, the day we would begin to share their story. As I sat in the cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in my stomach like a heavy stone. Jake and I had just come from the park, our minds still racing from the revelations, the spirits we encountered, and the weight of the truths we had unearthed. I absent-mindedly stirred my drink, the sound of the spoon clinking against the ceramic cup echoing in my ears. Hey, you okay? Jake asked, his brow furrowed with concern. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, and I could see the worry etched on his face. Yeah, just thinking about everything, I replied, forcing a smile. About the spirits, the ritual, and how we're going to tell everyone the truth. It feels like we're standing on the edge of something really big, right? He said, nodding. But I can't help feeling like we're not done yet. There's something else out there, something still lurking in the shadows. I shivered at his words. The encounter with the malevolent force in the park still haunted me. The way it had pressed against us, trying to suffocate our resolve, felt like a nightmare that refused to fade. I know what you mean. I just wish we could be done with it all. I want to help those kids, and us, but it feels like there's something holding us back. As I spoke, my phone buzzed on the table, a vibration that sent a jolt through my system. I glanced at the screen and saw an unknown number. My heart raced as I hesitated, unsure if I should answer it. Jake noticed and raised an eyebrow. "Who is it?" he asked, leaning back slightly. "A mystery caller?" "Yeah, I think so," I replied, my fingers trembling slightly as I picked it up. "Should I answer it?" "Why not? It could be important," he encouraged, his voice steady. Taking a deep breath, I pressed the green button and held the phone to my ear. "Hello." There was a long pause on the other end before a distorted voice broke the silence, sending chills down my spine. "Emily, you need to stop digging. The truth should remain buried." "What?" I said, my voice shaking. "Who is this? You don't need to know who I am. Just understand this. Revealing the truth about the park will have consequences. You won't like what happens next." The line went dead, leaving a hollow silence in its wake. I turned to Jake, my heart pounding. "Did you hear that?" "Yeah. What the hell was that?" he asked, his eyes wide with alarm. "I don't know, but it sounded serious," I replied, my voice trembling. They want us to stop. They don't want us to talk about the park." "Maybe we should listen to them," Jake suggested, his brow furrowing. "I mean, we've already faced so much. What if there's more danger waiting for us?" "No," I exclaimed, shaking my head. "We can't let fear dictate our actions. Those kids deserve to be remembered, and we owe it to them to uncover the truth, no matter the consequences." Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know you're right, but I can't shake this feeling that we're in over our heads. What if someone is watching us right now?" The thought sent a shiver down my spine. I glanced around the cafe, suddenly feeling exposed. "Maybe we should leave," I suggested, my heart racing. "Let's go somewhere else to talk." "Good idea," Jake replied, his voice low. "Let's grab our drinks and head out." We stood up, and as I turned to grab my bag, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye, a flash of movement. My heart leapt into my throat as I scanned the cafe, but there was nothing unusual. Jake stepped outside, and I followed closely behind, still scanning the area for anything out of the ordinary. I took a deep breath of the crisp air outside, trying to calm my nerves. "Let's go to the park. We need to figure out our next steps," I said, my voice firm. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Jake asked, hesitating. "What if whoever that was follows us?" "We can't let them intimidate us," I insisted. "We need to stay one step ahead." With a deep breath, we headed toward the park, the familiar path now feeling more foreboding than ever. As we walked, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, but the beauty of it all was lost on me. My mind was racing, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. When we reached the entrance to the park, the atmosphere felt heavy, charged with an energy that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. "It's so quiet," I murmured, glancing around. "Too quiet." Jake nodded, his eyes darting around. "Yeah, it feels like something's waiting for us. Let's just go in," I urged, stepping forward. "We need to confront whatever this is, once and for all." As we made our way deeper into the park, the shadows grew longer, and an eerie silence enveloped us. The faint sound of rustling leaves and distant whispers sent chills down my spine. We arrived at the area where we had performed the ritual, and I felt a strange pull towards the spot. "Emily, wait," Jake said, suddenly looking worried. "Maybe we should just go back. This place gives me the creeps." "No, we have to do this," I insisted, my determination igniting. "We need answers, Jake. We can't run away from this." As I stepped closer to the area, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye, a figure standing among the trees, half hidden in the shadows. My heart raced as I squinted, trying to make out what it was. "Jake, do you see that?" I whispered, pointing. "What?" he asked, squinting into the darkness. "I don't see anything." "It's right there," I insisted, stepping forward. "I swear I saw someone," but as I approached, the figure vanished, leaving only the rustling of leaves behind. I turned back to Jake, my heart pounding. "I swear I saw someone. I'm not imagining this. Emily, maybe you're just on edge, he said, his voice laced with concern. This place is messing with our heads. Maybe, I admitted, taking a deep breath, but we need to keep moving. We walked further into the park, the darkness wrapping around us like a thick blanket. Suddenly, I heard a rustling sound behind me. I spun around, my breath hitching in my throat. Did you hear that? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Yeah, Jake replied, his eyes wide. What was that? Before I could respond, Jake stepped back, his foot catching on a root. He stumbled, and I reached out to catch him. Whoa, careful, I exclaimed, but as I looked up, the world around us shifted. Jake, I called, but he didn't respond. He stood there, frozen, his eyes wide and unblinking. Jake, what's wrong? It was as if he were in a trance. I stepped closer, my heart racing. Jake, I shouted, shaking his shoulders gently. Snap out of it. He blinked rapidly, as though waking from a dream. Emily, he stammered, his voice strained. I don't know what just happened. Are you okay? I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. You scared me. I'm fine, he said, though his voice trembled. I felt something. It was like a memory, a flash of something long forgotten. What do you mean? I pressed, trying to understand. I don't know. Felt real, but also like a dream. There was laughter, children playing. He looked at me, his expression growing serious. Emily, what if there's something more to this? What if we're connected to all of this somehow? Connected, I echoed, my mind whirling with possibilities. You mean like the kids who disappeared? Yeah, he said, his voice low. What if I was one of them? The words hung in the air between us like a heavy fog. I felt a chill run down my spine. What are you saying, Jake? He took a step back, his eyes filled with fear and confusion. I don't know, but something is telling me that I have a connection to this place that I can't quite grasp. It's like there's a part of me that's been hidden away. Are you saying you think you were one of the children? I asked, my heart racing. That can't be possible. I don't know, but I felt it, Emily. I felt something in me stir, something I can't explain, he said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. And that message we got, it felt like a warning, like someone is trying to keep us from finding out the truth. Then we need to dig deeper, I urged, my resolve hardening. If you are connected to this, we have to get to the bottom of it. You deserve to know the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Are you sure you want to do